So hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to create a tours project with React. Are you excited? If till now you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Before start creating our tours project, I'll be providing you small demo that we are going to create in our today's video. As you can see up here, when I reload my page, there's a text displaying up here that is loading. And after that, it fetches the data, and if we are getting the data, it will display the products up here. We can see up here we are having the product image, product title, product price, and product information, and a not interested button. We can see up here we are having the product info up here, and we are having a read more button. When I just click on a read more button, we are going to get full paragraph displayed. And when I just click on a show less button, we only can see 200 letters. And the button is changing its text, read more and show less, that we are going to create with React. And as you can see up here, we are having the not interested button. When I just click on a not interested button, the product will be deleted from my list items. So when I just delete all of the products up here, like this is going to be my last product, when I just delete this product, it is displaying me that there are no tours left. That means I'm not having any list item. So when I just click on a refresh button, it will call my fetch function back again, and we are going to get data from our API. As you can see up here, when I just clicked on the refresh, it loads, and now we are having our data back. So without wasting the time, let's start creating our tours project. So as you can see, there are some files that I have already created. So I'm just going to close my sidebar. Alright, or you can see up here, this is my second tours project folder that is created inside my main React tutorial folder. We can see that we are having a source folder. In that source folder, we are having first of all app.js file, index.css file in which I'm having all of the CSS code written for our tours project. We are having the index.js, loading.js, tour.js and tours.js file up here. So I will explain you all of the files up here. In this app.js, we are importing the use state and the use effect hook from React. We are importing our loading screen, and we are importing our tours file up here. Alright, in which we are going to be having all of our tours. And up here we can see that we are having a variable known as URL, and we are having a link in which we are having all of our list items, images, information, price related to it. As you can see, when I paste it in a URL, we are having the list items ID, the name of the product, the info of the product, and the image of the product, which you can see up here. And then we are having a function that is returning us hello world, and it is being displayed in our browser, as you can see up here, hello world. And now when we come to our index.js file up here, we can see up here we are importing React DOM to render our application in front end. We are importing our CSS file up here and our app.js file so we can display it in our front end. That's it. And then we are having our loading.js file in which we are importing React from React. We are having a component, and a component should return something, and in that component we are having a div which is having a class name of a loading because we have provided it a styling in our CSS file. And we are displaying a h1 tag that is displaying us loading, and that is exported as default, and we are importing it in our app.js file, which you can see up here. And then we are having the index.css, and the code is already written up here. Alright, so I can just close my index.css file, I can close my loading.js file and my index.js file because we are done with it. So now let's start creating our project. So what I'm going to do up here is that I'm going to create two use state values up here. So first of all, let me create a first state value that is going to be named as loading, comma set loading, that equals to, I'll be using the use state up here, and I will set it to true. That means display me the loading screen. And the second variable, that means the second state value that I'm going to create, is going to be for our tours. That equals to the use state hook up here, and I will be setting it up in an empty array because now we are not having any tour. Alright, and now I'm going to end it with a semicolon. Great. And now let me create a component before this return up here. That is going to be named as fetch tours. That equals to, I will be using the assign chronos function up here, so we can use the await method and the fetch function to fetch the data from the API given in our URL variable. So for using the async, we will be having the async function. We are going to be having the parenthesis, fat arrow function, curly braces, enter. In this, we are just going to set our loading to true. That means display me the loading screen. And I will not display it if our data is successfully fetched from the API link provided in our variable URL. Now I will be using the try and the catch method up here. This is going to be our catch method. Inside our catch method, if you're having any kind of an error, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my loading screen to false. I will say no need to show my loading screen other than just console.log the error that I'm going to get. Alright, that's great. And now inside our try function up here, try method up here, I'm going to create a variable that is going to be the response. Alright, that equals to, I'll be using the await method up here, and I'll be using the fetch function to fetch the data in which I'm having the data link that is stored in our URL variable, and that variable name I'll be entering inside my fetch function. Cool. And now let me create a second one that is going to be named as tours. That equals to, I'll be using the await function, and now I'm going to select my first variable in which I'm getting my data. So the variable name is response, and I will convert that data into the JSON format. So I'll be using the JSON function up here. If our data is successfully fetched out, I'll be set my loading to false. That means no need to display the loading. And I will set my tours in which I'm having the empty array now, which you can see up here. I'm going to set the tours to my tours variable in which I'm converting my data into the JSON format so we can display it in our front end. Cool. Now we are going to be using the use effect hook. So we can just call this function once the page reload. Only one single time. So let me use the use effect hook up here. So if you want to run the use effect hook, you need to have a callback function in it. Alright, and inside this use effect callback function, I'm going to call my component that is fetch tours. Great. And what I need to do is I need to run only once the page reloads. So after the curly braces ends, that means after my callback function ends, I'm going to add a comma and a empty square brackets. Great. That's amazing. Let me save it. There's no error. Great. So now we are going to write an if statement up here for our loading screen. So before the return, we are going to be having the if our loading. As you can see up here, if our loading variable is true, we are going to display our loading. Alright, so we are going to return in a main tag. We are going to call our loading that is imported from our loading.js file, which you can see up here. Great. Now if I reload the page, you can see the loading is being displayed, and after that we are getting our data. So the data loading screen is false now, and we are displaying hello world because we are returning hello world up here. Great. Now inside our return, we are returning hello world. So now when I reload the page, it's displaying us loading, and when we are getting our data from our API, it is displaying us hello world because we are returning hello world. So I'm just going to remove this h1 tag from here, and inside the return we are going to be having the main tag. In that main tag, we are going to be importing our tours file. Alright, and now it's not displaying us anything up here. So now let's come to our tours.js file up here. Okay. In this, we are going to import React from React. And after that, we are going to import tour from our tour.js file up here. So /tour, and after that let's create a component that is going to be named as tours. All right, that equals to, we are going to be having the parenthesis, fat arrow function, curly braces, and enter. And any component should return something, otherwise we are going to get a big fat error. And now let's export this tours as default. Export it as default, and I will name it as tours. Alright, now inside this return, we are not having anything to return, that's why we're getting an error. So inside this return, we are going to create a section, and inside that section, we are going to be having a div which is going to be having a class name of title. Inside this div, we are going to be having the h2 tag which is going to display our heading, that is going to be our tours. And now we need to display an underline at the bottom of our heading. So for that, we're going to create a div which is going to be having a class name that is going to be underline. Let's save it. And now it's loading and it is displaying me our tours. How it is displaying me? Because in our app.js file, we are returning our tours file up here, in which I'm displaying my heading and underline div. That's great. Cool. Let's save it. Okay, so now we are going to come to our tour.js file. In our tour.js file, we are going to import React. Okay, and what we need a hook that is going to be used up here, that is going to be the use state hook. Alright, and we are going to import it from React. You will understood why we are going to import this use state hook. I will explain you. We are going to use this use state hook for our read more and show less functionality in our product information. Now let me create a component that is going to be named as tours. Sorry, not tours, it's going to be named as tour. And now it should return something. And now let me export it as default. That is going to be tour. Alright, so now inside this return, what I'm going to do, I'm going to return for a basic example h1 tag, and it should return me hello. So we are not going to get a big fat error now. Now let me come to my app.js file up here, in which I'm having my tours, in which I'm going to send my tours variable. So we can just use the people.map function to fetch that data, and I'm going to save that. Now let me come to my tour.js file up here. In that file, I will show them how to display my products. So I'm going to be having an article, and I'm going to provide it a class name that is going to be single tour. That means I'm going to style my single tour, and in my tours.js, with the help of the map function, I'm going to display or add the same format to all of my products. So inside this article, the first thing that I'm going to display is the image. So the source is going to be image. Alright, so now we are going to get a big fat error, because from where I'm going to get the image. So what I'm going to do is, inside my tour, I'm going to be having this curly braces, in which I need the ID, I need the name of the product, I need the image of the product, I need the info of the product, and I need the name of my product, I need the price of my product. Alright, great. So now we are going to be having the alt text that is going to display the name of my product. Okay, and after that, we are going to create a footer for our product information. In this footer, we are going to be having a div which is going to be having a class name that is going to be tour-information. Inside this tour info, we are going to be having the h4 tag, in which we are going to display the name of our product. And then we are going to be having the another h4 tag, which is going to be having the class name of tour-price. That is going to display the price of our product. So the dollar symbol, then we are going to display the price. Great. And after this div ends, we are going to be having the paragraph tag, and inside that paragraph tag, we are going to display the information of the product. Cool. Now let's create a button. Alright, that is going to be for not interested button. If the user is not interested in our product, he can just delete that product from our list items. So let's create a button. We are going to provide it a class name that is going to be delete-button. Now I'm going to name the button that is going to be not interested. Alright, let's save it. Now Now we are going to come to our tours.js file up here, and inside this file what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div. Inside that div we are going to return our tour.js in which I'm getting my data in a structure. So for doing that we are going to be having the curl braces up here. So we are getting the data from the tours variable and that is being imported up here in our tours. So let's select our tours variable in which we are getting our data stored up here, which you can see in our tours. We are storing our data that is converted into the JSON format. So we are going to get the data. We are going to be using the map function up here, and inside that map function we are going to be having the callback function, and inside that parenthesis we are going to convert all of our tours into a single tour. And now we are going to return parenthesis, and inside that we are going to return our tour file. Okay, so now if I save it, we are getting an error up here that is saying the tours is not defined. So we need to define the tours up here. And now when I save it, that's great. We are not getting the image, we are not getting any kind of a price or the information fetched from the data. So for getting that, we are going to provide a key that is going to be having for all of our list items, so the React will understand which items is inserted or which item is deleted or which item is modified. So tour.id, a single tours ID, and after that to display it we are going to be having the curl braces in which we are going to be using the spread operator with 3 dots, and we are going to get the single tour. And now when I save it, we should get our data shown up here. Alright, as you can see, we are getting our images, we are getting our paragraphs, that means our product's title, product's price, and product's information. Great. So now we are going to add our read more and read show less functionalities in our project. So for adding that, we are going to come to our tour.js in which we are having and we are designing our tour, that means our product. So what we are going to do up here is that in our paragraph in which we are having our information, we need to add a read more and a show less button up here. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a use state hook variable. So let me create a use state hook up here that is going to be named as read more, comma set read more, that equals to, we are going to be using the use state hook and we are going to set it to false. That means no need to display me whole of the paragraph. Alright. And after that we are going to come to the paragraph and we are going to remove this curl braces from here, and we are going to be having the curl braces back again, in which we are going to call our variable that is having the state hook, that is our read more variable. Alright, if our read more is true, then only I'm going to display my information. If it is false, we are going to be having the backstrings in which we are going to be having the dollar curly braces in which we are going to display the information. Alright, but it will be displayed half. So we are going to be using the stub string function up here. I'll be displaying only from 0 to 200 characters, and we are going to display dot dot dot. Great, let's save it. And now as you can see, we are getting only half of our data displayed up here. If I change my state value to true, we are going to get the full paragraph displayed up here. So I'm going to keep it by default as false. Alright, so now we need to create a button that is going to change my button's text to show less read more, and change the state value of my read more variable to true and false. So inside this paragraph only, I'm going to create a button which is not going to be having any kind of a class provided to it. Just I'm going to be having this curly braces in which I will be selecting my read more variable. If my read more is true, that means if my read more is true, we are going to display whole of the paragraph, and that time I'm going to change my button's text to show less. And if it is false, that means it is going to display half of my paragraph information. That time I'm going to change the text to read more. Let me save it. And now we are getting the read more button up here, and if I change my state value to true, we are going to display whole of the paragraph and the button is changed to show less. So by default I'm going to make it false. And now let's add the on click functionality. So when the user clicks on this button, we are going to be having this curly braces. Inside this, we are going to be having the parenthesis, a fat arrow function, and then we are going to set our read more. So our set our read more state value to a exclamation mark, the read more's default value. Now what is this doing up here? If our read more's value is false, it will turn it into true. If it is true, it will turn it to the false, that means opposite to the value that it is having. Alright, so now when I save it, when I come to my project up here, and when I click on the read more, it is changing its value to true, and when I click on the show less, it is changing its value to false. Great. Amazing. Now we have added our read more functionality to our project up here. So now let's add not interested on click functionality up here. So for adding that functionality, we are going to come before this fetch tours component, in which we are going to create another component that is going to be for removing the tour. So I'm going to name it as remove tour, that equals to the parenthesis fat arrow function up here, in which the parenthesis I'm going to provide it the ID that they should get from the single product which is not interested, and what I'm going to do after it. After that, I'm going to create a new variable that is going to be the new tours, that equals to my tours variable dot, I'll be using the filter method up here, in which we are going to be having the fat arrow function, in which parenthesis we are going to select that single tour. If the tour dot id doesn't match to the id that we're getting, just keep it, and if it is matching, just delete that id, and if it is not matching, just set that tours to our new tours. That's it. Now how will I use this function in my tour.js button up here? So for doing that, we are going to come to our return in our app.js. We can see up here we are having a return that in which we are using our tours. So up here I will be using my function name that was remove tour, that equals to the curly braces, and I will define my function name that is going to be remove tour. That's it. Let's save it. Now it is sending my remove tour function to my tours.js file. So I'll be coming to my tours.js file up here, and inside this curly braces I'm going to add a comma, and I'm going to call my remove tour function up here, and I will send that remove tour function to my tour.js file up here, which is called. So I'll be adding a curly braces, or let me add the remove tour that equals to the curly braces, in which I'm going to call my remove tour function. Let me save it, and now I can use my remove tour function in my tour.js. So for using it after my price, I'll be using my remove tour function up here, and let's add that functionality into our not interested button. So when the user clicks, so on click, that means when the user clicks on the button, we are going to be having a fat arrow function, that means a parenthesis and a fat arrow, and after that we are going to call our remove tour function, in which we are going to pass the product's ID that this function will get, and it will delete that specific ID product, which you can see up here. So let's test whether it's working fine or not. Let me save it, and now when I come to my project, when I scroll down and when I click on not interested button, the product is successfully deleting the specific list item that we have provided to it. That's great. So now when all of the products are deleted, we need to display a no products left. So for that we are going to come to our app.js file. So when we come to our app.js file, after that means before my return, I'm going to create another if statement up here. If my tours, in which I'm having all of my data, if its length is triple equals to or double equals to 0, that means if you're not having any product in our API, that means in our list items, we are going to return a main tag in which we are going to be having a div which is going to be having a class name of title, in which we are going to display a h2 tag in that is going to display that there's no tours left. Great. And now we need to create a button for refreshing our page. So let's create a button which is going to be having a class name of button, and we are going to display the text that is going to be refresh. Alright, so what I need is, when all of our products it is deleted, we need to run this fetch tours function once again. So when the user clicks on the refresh button, we need to call our fetch tours component. So on click of this fresh button, I'm going to be having the parenthesis arrow function up here, and what was my function name? That was fetch tours. I'm going to call it. Let's save it. That's it. So now if I scroll down, if I delete all of my list items up here because I'm not interested in it, let me just delete it. And this is going to be our last product, and as you can see, it is displaying me that there's no tours left. When I click on my refresh button, it is going to call my fetch tours component, in which I'm going to fetch my data back again single time and display it in my front end. So let me click on the refresh button and check whether it's working or not. Let's click, and we are getting our data back from our API. So this is how we create our tours project. If you like the tutorial video, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next React video. Peace.